I can't feel bad about this because none of this is real. And he took his script and he put it right to my chest and he walked out. And at that point, I just said, it's over.
'80s hair metal had its time and place, I think. It was tough for those guys to change and to continue doing that because people wanted something different out of music. And that's how it goes with everything, you know. Disco didn't last, hair metal didn't last, grunge didn't last. So, you know, there's always something new and different that's going to come along. But I just can't stand Poison. I'm sorry, Rick. I can't do it. It's no good.
The year was about 2003. I was a junior in high school.
The first thing that stood out was, man, this kid has a lot of facial hair for being 15 years old.
I was still playing guitar. By this point, I was looking for people to play with.
And one day, Rick came up to me and my buddy Scott, who played drums with me, and just said, hey, man, you want to join my band?
And it was kind of a bit of perfect timing, because I said, hey, like, you know, I play guitar. I think you guys are looking for a guitarist. You know, we should connect together and we should start writing some songs.
And little did we know there was no band yet. It was just Rick. And then we filled it out with a couple other guys and then started hanging out all the time, writing tunes together. And
so from there, that's exactly what we did. It was my buddies Owen, Chris, Kevin, and Scott. Plus Rick, that's R-O-C-K-S, rocks. We started playing together and writing songs.
Playing high school dances and little coffee house gigs and stuff. So I remember those shows were great.
You know, we came up on different backgrounds. Some of the guys had influences like Green Day or Tom Petty in the Wallflowers. I, of course, came from a background of Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses and Prince.
He really liked Prince a lot, which at the time I thought was kind of weird. But since I've realized that Prince is an absolute genius, so I'll give him a pass on that one.
But we found a connection that we were able to come up with a bunch of songs, and we put together a little EP in the fall of 2003.
Rick was always kind of the leader of the band, and he and I always ended up writing songs together. And we just had a blast. It was formative years. You know, your first band, you think you're going to be super famous, and you're just trying to get your other high school friends to come out and see your shows and buy your tickets and stuff.
And we played together for the next few years after we, you know, graduated high school. And after that, some guys moved away, and the band started to take a different shape.
Well, we got serious in college. So we had the band Rock Masi, and then some people split up and went to different schools. Rick and I both went to the same school. And at one point, we each started our own band. And I had Kevin Sampson and the Innocent Bystanders, and Rick had Rock Masi and the Pheromones was his band. And we would play in each other's bands.
The goal was we wanted to be a known band and we wanted to be a touring band. And it was around 2007 when we were approached by this record producer.
It was one of those things. You go into the guy's office, there's gold records on the wall, picture with him with Rick James and Eddie Murphy and stuff, and we're kind of overwhelmed. He's saying, you know, we're going to put you in the studio, we're going to get you on the radio, we're going to buy you clothes, we're going to do all this stuff.
So immediately you're like, oh my God, like a record company likes our song? They want to make a record with us? Hell yeah, let's go. Let's go talk to them. We go into this boardroom, and it's almost like a scene right out of a movie. There's this long table with all these chairs, and the room is kind of dim and dark, and you know, we take our seat and we listen to this pitch from this lawyer. They were gonna give us everything amazing. They were gonna give us a 9-album deal. They were gonna give us opportunities to work with the best people in the biz, and hey, did you see who we worked with before? Like, we know those people. That could be you. But, you know, as most things, it was not exactly as it seemed.
I was pretty wrapped up, and I was like, yeah, I mean, you're going to put me in the studio, you're going to record my songs, you're going to pay me to do it. I'm like, hell yeah, where do I sign? We're all signing kind of thing. And I think Rick could really see that it was going to become a different thing. It wasn't going to be just the guys playing the way we were. There was going to be pressure involved, and, you know, it's tough to sing when you got a record producer, the executive producer of the label, and then some random people just watching you sing the songs in the studio, you know. And I think it was a little overwhelming for Rick.
I remember looking at the contract as they're speaking to us and saying to myself, I don't know what the hell any of this means. We left that meeting, all of us were jazzed. We're like, this is the first step to Awesome Town. I get home and I start looking at the contract. And again, I'm like, I don't understand any of this. I don't know, do we consult a lawyer? Do we have somebody who probably understands what all this is? Take a look at it. So that began the first unease I had with the situation. Because I was like, I think, you know, we got to take a step back from the shine of all this. So it was shortly thereafter, I started voicing some concerns with the guys. He made it clear to us that he really only wants us for this one song. And at this point, like I said, I'm a Prince fan. I'm really big into Prince's story and background. So being a Prince fan, I think about this story about Prince and Warner Brothers. The whole time period in the 90s where he wrote the word slave across his face. It's because he wanted ownership of his music. And I started thinking about that in this situation. And I was like, well, we might have an avenue that we can do both things. Why don't we pay the money ourselves for this one song, and then we have the ownership of the master. We have the master copy. And if he really only wants us for that song and everything else is secondary, hey, let's do that. So after voicing all of these concerns with the guys and, you know, listening to their concerns and stuff as well, you know, I really started to become disenchanted with the whole idea. I started to feel like I was a product and that I was losing any type of originality that I had or input because of somebody else. So I remember very clearly, I came to a band practice and I look around the practice space and I see all of this brand new equipment. And I was like, what is this? And one of the guys in the band tells me, oh, this is all of ours if we sign. So-and-so went out and got this for all of us and paid for it, but it's not really ours until we actually sign the contract. And I remember taking my spot and sitting by my amp and just kind of looking around the room at all the shit that was just all over the place and thinking to myself, is this selling out? Are we being bought? Like, this isn't what we wanted to do. And it pissed me off that somebody would make me hate my passion. And I had sunglasses on and I'm sitting at my amp and I just start bawling behind my sunglasses because I was so pissed that somebody was getting in the way of what we as a family, as a band, were trying to do. So after that moment, I realized that I had a lot of soul searching to do and possibly some tough decisions that I had to make. So I called a meeting with the guys and I said, you know, I wanted to talk about you know, my involvement in the band and like our future as a band together. And we got together at this Italian restaurant and we sat and I just laid it out there and I discussed like, hey, I want to do this and I want to do this with you guys, but I don't think that this particular situation is the right move for me. And conversely, they said the same thing. It's like, we want you to be involved with us. Like, we're family, we're brothers. You know, we want you to be a part of this and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it. And at that moment, you know, I said, well, unfortunately, for me, I can't do it this way.
I think it was a little overwhelming for Rick. I think it was a little bit too much, and he knew that I was going to do it, so I think it was just he kind of wanted to go do his own thing. And it ended up being, it was an interesting time, but yeah, it got off the rails a little bit. You know, after a while, I wasn't really in control of what I wanted to do anymore. Our first record was pretty successful, and it was really hard to follow that up. And after a while, we were just like spinning the wheels.
And it was a mix of emotions. It was a mix of disappointment on both ends. It was some sadness because we've been friends for years. A little bit of anger because, hey, like, fuck you. I said we were gonna do it this way. No, fuck you, man. Like, we were supposed to do this together. You know, thinking back now on the situation, I don't blame anybody for the final choices that they made, because we all did what we thought was best for us at the time.
And one thing I've always respected about Rick is he came to me right at the beginning of that and he said, Kev, I think I gotta back out. I wanna do my own thing. And I want to see where that takes me. And I respected the hell out of that, because some other people would just go along for the ride, you know what I mean? But Rick's always been very determined. He's always known what he wanted to do, and it's all worked out pretty well. Whereas from that point on, I kind of went really hard into the music, and Rick ended up going really hard into filmmaking and writing and acting himself. And it's worked out pretty good for both of us.
Right around the time that I was planning my first film, I reached out to Kevin and I said, hey man, like, I'm doing this new thing. It's actually a movie, and I would love for you to be part of the soundtrack. And actually, hey, why don't you be in it as well? And what's really cool about this whole situation is it kind of was a reconnection for us in a sense, to, you know, talk about all the things that had happened in the past. And, you know, we just said, hey man, like, I was feeling this way at the time, and, you know, I felt this way about you, and I wanted the best for all of us. You know, there was no ill will about the decisions that we had made. And we looked at this as a new opportunity to work together.
Sometimes your dreams turn out to be a nightmare. You waste your nights begging anyone to care. You pray for meaning and affection in the spotlight. The ends feel good, but the means weren't right. You said you never compromise. You always stand on your own 2 feet. You let the money and the lights get in your eyes. Now you're just a man